Hey there, welcome to the virtual table as we revisit the game D-Day at Omaha Beach. I, it's really funny because I really love this game, but I realize that it's been 5 years since I've played it. A really long time. And it's just because it's a testament to how many good games there are out there in the market. And 1 second, I have to sneeze. Okay, back. So the uh, June 6th is when this happened, and it's interesting. Something got destroyed because it fell through the world. I don't know what that was, but we'll figure it out. Um, so D-Day happened June 6th, 1944. It happens to be June 2024, and I'm a little late to the party by a couple weeks. Today's June 23rd. But every year, whenever this anniversary comes up, I always get the itch to play this game. And this time I really want to want to do it. So first thing I did is I opened up the rule book, and with every heavy game you own, there's this dread. Because I knew how to play this game, and now I don't remember it anymore. And so I had to relearn a heavy game. So one of the things I did is I went and looked up my own YouTube series where I played this game. So I happen to have a first playthrough and a third playthrough. There might be a second, but I couldn't find it through my searching. And in both playthroughs, well, especially the first playthrough, I thought I did a great job of introducing how to play this game. However, in both of the playthroughs, I made some serious errors. And so bad that I was like, man, I can't watch this. Because I'm relying on my videos to teach me how to play this game, but my videos are misleading me in certain ways, and I mean it's making me want to delete that whole series. But then I thought about it for a second, and I was like, you know what? I really do cover the game pretty decently, and the errors I am making are in the comments. Like the viewers are correcting the errors. And then if you watch the series long enough, you could tell when I finally, started to read the comments as I was recording, I might be 2 or 3 videos ahead of the comments, right? And then eventually I catch it up and I correct the mistakes. But it's just not very clean. So let's do it again. Let's try this, from the start. The funny part is that some of the things I really understood back then I don't understand as well now because I'm so I'm so rusty at playing this game. Okay, so first thing first, I'm using Tabletop Simulator. My other playthroughs used a physical copy of the game. The Tabletop Simulator is awesome. I will tell you that there's no scripting other than just the initial setup here, and everything else you just got to do manually. The only thing Tabletop Simulator is weaker at is you sort of have to go like this to see if there's a token on top of another. It's really hard to tell if you have a concentrated force. So I will just say that from the start. The Tabletop Simulator added some nice things to the board that you don't quite see on the regular board. And then, of course, all these charts are here and readily accessible. And I have to confess, even watching the video, I had flashbacks to when I really did play this game, because the one thing I remember is that there were so many charts that I was constantly shuffling through my multiple printouts to find the right chart. It's all here. It's all perfect. So that's step one. Step two is the rulebook is not included. So you need to know how to play. Now, this little helmet is serving as a bag, and it says that the rules are in here. All it does is it points you to a YouTube or a web link that I don't think works anymore. And if it does work, it's horrible. This is not going to get you a copy of the rulebook. It's going to send you through the internet to... It's basically going to open up your browser and that's it. And it's going to look like a little iPad. It's horrible. You don't want to use this. So obviously you should own your own copy if you ever play a tabletop simulator game that's free like this. I do. I have printed rules here. But another thing I do want to recommend, and I think most players do, and I'm going to Alt-Tab here because this is important, is... Oh, crap, I don't have it open. Give me a second. I had this ready. I swear to you I did. Okay, voila. Here we go. So, on Board Game Geek, there's a zip file that you can download, and it's called the flipbook. And I happen to be using the 3.1 version. So as of today, this was the latest and greatest. So just like if you're going to play on a computer or on your iPad or whatever, just download it and store it in a file. So I have it in its own file. And then what I did was I loaded both of the flipbooks. There's a basic and there's an extended. And I'll explain what the difference is in a second. But what we're going to do is we're going to use this flipbook to help us. Now, what the flipbook did in essence is it took the rules, so the rule book is decent. All the rules are there. They're pretty comprehensive. There's only a few edge cases that we debate over. The two biggest ones are the two bunker system, and if one of the two bunkers is captured, does the other one still have the same visibility? That was the first one. And then the second one being the whole engineers with a disrupted bunker. And I'll explain what both of those mean if this game's new to you in a second. So there's a basic game and there's an extended game. And these flipbooks are really just something that you can start at page 1. And let's do the basic one. You can start at page 1. And you could literally just flip through the book and it tells you step by step what you need to do to play the game. Now, with that being said, don't think that you can just skip the rule book, because the rules, even though they're all here, they are sometimes like you got to go to page 6 to see the rules that apply to page 1. I mean, the flipbook I think could be a tad bit better, but people say that these are invaluable, and I tend to agree. Like if you're using the regular rule book compared to this, the regular rule book is just not organized very effectively. It's a great I'm going to go to my index and look something up kind of rulebook, but it's not very good at helping you to just dive in and play the game. So, what's the format I'm going to do here? I'm going to try to teach the game the way I understand it. I'm going to try to make up for the mistakes that my previous videos had. I guarantee you I'll probably just make my own new mistakes now, so, I'm not going to do any better. We're going to use the flipbook, and so I'm going to show how to integrate that as you play. And we're going to do the basic plus the extended game, and I'll explain what that is as well. So without further ado, I'm going to flip back to the game, pun intended, and we're going to do a really basic overview. And let's see, should I do... So, okay, I'm going to do a quick overview of the game, and then the actual playthrough will start on video 2. So that way some of you can skip this video if you don't want to go through the overview part, and save you the boredom or whatever. And then we'll go to video 2 to actually start the play. Okay? Alright, thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome in that regard if you're leaving. Otherwise, stick around. We'll go through an overview and go from there. Now, one thing is, this game is like 2009, I think. And there's hundreds of videos out there on YouTube. I know that my videos are used quite a lot, actually. This is one of my more popular series, even though I'm sitting here criticizing it because I made so many mistakes. But here's the key thing. I'm actively watching these other videos because I'm trying to relearn the game myself, and they stink. They're horrible. And especially the ones that are linked on Board Game Geek. So some of them are like, people were putting in the comments, you did a masterful job of covering the game, and it's like, no, you didn't. Like, I'm watching it, and I'm like, man, you're just not helping me to learn this game at all. And then so the best video series out there that I know of, and it's the one that I originally learned from, is guys named Lycos or Lycos. So it's Likos. That's how you find him. And he has a bird chirping the whole time while he's playing the game. He does the best job of explaining the game and I'm hoping that I at least do as well or better. The problem is Lycos does one huge error in his game, and I ended up doing it in my game because I didn't realize that it was even an error, and it had to do with the Rangers and how they climb cliffs. So we'll get to the climbing cliffs and that kind of stuff later as well. But it's a very large error in his game. Oh, the other error was the way way you end up taking multiple hits. So he so there's a rule that you can only take so many hits on a particular turn, and he violated that rule as well. So but outside of that, he did a fabulous job. And so, anyways, that's who I would recommend. You know, some of those guys that are really popular in the wargaming arenas that are trying to do this for money, they don't actually play the game, and they gloss it over because they're doing this for the money. So they make a 30-minute video, they gloss it over, and then they get all your likes and subscribes, and everybody's like, great job, great job. And then they talk about how great this game is. I honestly don't even think they actually play it, to be honest with you. Because their gloss over is so glossy, it's not even funny. And then, even Heavy Cardboard did the same thing. They highlighted the game, but then they never actually played it. And I don't know. If I ever went to a board gaming convention, I don't think I would get along with these other YouTubers. I don't take my YouTubing seriously. So, there is a little bit of that, but I am a big critic of the other YouTubers. I do appreciate how hard it is for them to do what they do. That much I can appreciate. But I just think that they're money grabbers sometimes when it comes to some of these games, and especially these heavy ones. So, anyways, let's get to it. So grab your flip books, get your game, whether it's a physical copy or the tabletop simulator, it doesn't matter. The setup is the same, and you're going to want, so we're going to play the standard scenario. So I'm going to bring this over, and we're going to just drop this right here. And in the standard scenario, in your rule book, we'll have the rules written exactly like you see here. So this part is what you need to do to set up for the standard scenario. Now, when we say basic and extended, the basic game is first waves, turns 1 through 16, and extended is all the way up to 32. So you can see here that the Omaha Beach says 1 to 32. So we're playing Omaha Beach, which is the full 32 turns. The basic game is 1 to 16, and then the extended game is anything beyond 16, 17 through 32. Okay? What's the key difference between basic and extended? The extended uses this chart over here with these symbols. Now, we use this symbol here, this little oval armor symbol. We also use the star in the basic game. Like, these two are used in the basic game. But this A, P, M, R, and F, these are not used in the basic game. They don't get used until the extended game. And what am I talking about? Well, look at this card right here. See how that card has the letter A and then it has the letter R? We ignore those in the basic game. They're used in the extended game. So there's some additional rules in the extended game that we're not going to cover for the basic game. And I'm not going to try to cover it here in this introductory scenario either. They really deserve their own dedicated video. And that's also why there's two flip charts. So this is the flip chart for the extended game. This is the flip chart for the basic game. Like, the way the sequence of play works is different. And it really does matter. And so you can see the rules for the extended game are marked in green, because they're trying to, show you that, there's things on here that, see, these green, these are all extended game rules, right? And then if you go to the basic, it doesn't have the green in them as often or at all. Now, the part that gets tricky, really, really tricky, is it says here units are hit once per turn max. And, so it's talking about how you apply hits to your units, right? If you go to the extended game, the number of possible hits is 2 times the German units and depth markers. That is true, but only during the extended period of turns 17 through 34. So it's extremely misleading. So if you just play the extended one, this is going to be wrong. And this is wrong too. Units are hit more than once per round, per turn. That's true in the extended 17 through 32, but it's not true during 1 through 16. And that's the part that can hang you up. And they try to explain it here, the legend, and it does say, let me look at this real quick. So it contains all the rules for the extended game, and it tells you 17 through 32. So what you're supposed to do, really, is you can't use this book to start the game. You have to use the basic book until you get to turn 16, and then you have to switch to this book in 17. I'm sorry, that was a really long-winded way to get to that conclusion. So you got to use one flip book for 1 through 16, use the other flip book for 17, and then what they do is they highlight in green, which is really handy, like what changed. Okay, now that we're in the extended version, what's different here? And like all this is different up here. But and then you can see like the letters mean things. Like there's a redeploy, there's an ambush, etc. And you can see a whole bunch of green stuff is changing here, so and so forth. So it's going to be a very long time before we revisit these extended rules. I actually think the basic game is the more fun portion of the game than the extended, but it's almost like two games in one, but they do blend together very well. Okay, so let's get back to... Alright, so now that you know we're doing basic and extended, here's the turn track. It's up at the top. You need a turn marker, which will start on turn 1. And you can see it goes all the way through, and then it turns red to indicate to you that that's the extended game. So, very nicely visible indicator to remind you, hey, you're transitioning to the next game portion. The other thing is when you're sorting your tokens, you're going to have a 1st Division and a 29th Division. And the 29th Division is on this side of the board, which is the west side. And the reason this is confusing is because, look at this, north is pointing towards you. So the beach, or the water, is north. Because, yeah, we're coming across, the English Channel, right? So we're coming into France from the south, or from the north, which we're moving towards the south. So south is in front of us here. And so everything is a different orientation than you're used to, because you're used to looking at a map where north is up. And so west and east is backwards, but it's exactly the way it's supposed to be for the orientation of this map. Now, I will tell you that the 29th Division is a different color green than the 1st. Now, you don't see that here. This one, as you can see, is a little darker. This is lighter. But when you have the physical copy of the game, it's much more pronounced. You can tell the difference very quickly. Because other than that, there's no other way to tell which ones are 29th and which ones are 1st. It's literally the darkness of the green that you see in the background. Not the green strip in the middle, but the actual green of the chip. Okay, so the game does a good job of sorting your markers, and that's what you want to do. So your disrupted markers, your garrisons. Garrisons are not used until extended. The disrupted markers you're going to use a lot. And that, by the way, is the number one mistake I made in both of my playthrough videos. These naval gunfires will come from time to time, smoke time to time. These are used for your engineers. You're going to use those right away. And then climb. You're going to need all these to start. Also, they give you extra action tokens, but just to let you know, you start the game with only 2 of them on each side. So I'm just going to move these, down here, because you really only start with 2 actions on each side. Now, they got these command transfer tokens, which, yeah, you could use them. They're there. And then you have these HQ tokens and range and all that stuff. A lot of this is going to be used, like this little track here and this track here. This is all part of the extended game. You really won't be using it in the basic. Okay, so with all that aside, you're going to sort all of your units. Now, what you're going to have here is, see these little dots? That's called a pip. Or they call it something else in this game. Step. They call it a step. I call it a pip. Pip and step, those are synonymous. And a step just represents the strength of the unit. And I think all infantry is 3 steps if they're at full strength, and some of them are 4 steps at full strength. But the typical ones are 3. And when they take hits, the pips go away. So if you have a 3-pip unit, and here I'll show you what a 3-pip unit looks like, because they're all up here. See, those are all 3-pip units, and here's a 4-pip. This is an anti-aircraft. So it has 4 pips, and then these have 3. So, if this particular unit took damage, you would flip it over, and then there's a 2-pip on the other side. So it just goes from a 3-step to a 2-step. And then after it goes from a 2-step, if it takes another hit, then it drops to a 1-step down here. So that's why you see these down here at the bottom. In your physical copy, you just want to put all these off to the side. And organize, though. So across the top, this is just how they're organized. So, this is like... And forgive me, because my son is in the Army right now, and this is World War II nomenclature, so I may not get it exactly right. But, like this is Alpha. This is the 29th Division, and this is like Alpha Company, 1st Regiment, 116th. I don't know. The 116th is like the lowest common denominator there. And then you got, Bravo 1, and then Charlie 1, and then Delta 1. Like, I think they called it Easy back then. For, now it's Echo, and so forth, right? So you got all these. So you want to just, actually it's the 116th is not the lowest common denominator. It's the biggest. So all of these are part of the 116th. And then all of these are part of the 115th. So within the 116th, you have Alpha 1, Bravo 1, Charlie 1, etc. And then Echo 2, Foxtrot 2, Golf 2, Hotel 2, etc. And I really do think the 1s and the 2s are the regiment. And then, of course, the ABC, those are the companies. And the 116th is the, I don't know, brigade? Some of you guys know this stuff way better than I do. And I'd have to pull out the rulebook. The rulebook actually explains it all. It is not important for playing the game. That's the reason why I don't know it. But and then you can see 1st Division is the same way. You got the 18th and the 16th, right? And then within it, you got the Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and then 1st Regiment, 2nd Regiment, 3rd Regiment notation. Okay? And then the tanks, you got the 741, 1B, 2B, etc. All right. So, you sort these. You set them aside. The way they're sorted here is, I have no issue with it at all. I think this is the way you should sort yours as well. And then up here, these units. So there's a couple of things on them. The number here at the bottom is their strength. So it's synonymous with the 3 steps. So you take that 3-step unit, it has 6 strength. You flip it over, it drops to 2-step. Now the strength dropped to 4. Like, they're synonymous. So the pips and the strength go hand in hand. The next thing to understand is the symbology on this. This is what is it? Is it NATO? This represents an infantry unit. This represents, I believe, an anti-aircraft. No, I'd have to look that up. It's a little like that dot in the middle is the anti-aircraft. I almost want to say that's an anti-tank unit. But anyways, I don't want to butcher it, and I apologize to those that know this stuff really well. Like, this shaded part on the bottom is a ranger, and you need to know the rangers. That part you got to know is the ranger. This is, again, that's anti-aircraft with the dot in the middle, and then the oval means that it's armored. But beyond that, I don't know much else. Okay. again, not super important that you know those. You don't have to become an expert. But again, it's something. Oh, here we go. Right here it is. So it is anti-aircraft. So I guess this is armored anti-air and this is non-armored, if I were to make a guess between the two. And then, oh, the dots aren't anti-aircraft. Those are artillery. My apologies. The dots are the artillery. These are the anti-air, the half circles. And there's the anti-tank. It's got the triangle-looking thing with the dot in the middle. Okay. I just needed to know my charts that are up here instead of me trying to guess. And here you go. This is infantry and that's ranger. So, so again, my apologies there. All right. Continuing on. So the important information, you got the strength, you got the steps, you got the how they're organized. This 3 here means that it's turn 3. That's why all the 3s are above the 3. So these guys are the ones that come out on turn 1. And then the ER2, EG2, those are, you can see the beaches labeled. So ER2 would go here, and then EG2 would go here, etc. It's just telling you where they would start. And then the last thing is the shape. You can see there's a circle, there's a triangle, and there's a diamond. The shapes mean nothing. They're just how you, when you're drawing the cards in the game, certain things are going to happen to certain shapes, and that's just going to be the luck of the draw. Like when the Germans are shooting, who are they shooting at? Well, they might be shooting at the triangles. And so then you're going to check to see which triangles are in their line of fire. And the triangles are the ones that are going to get hit. The circles and the diamonds are going to be safe. You know, that's what the shapes mean. Okay, so after butchering the different images, I hope we can recover and continue what I'm hoping is a helpful description of the game. All right, so before we get into setup or anything like that, the steps of the game is obviously you have your turns here, and then you start here. So with the basic game sequence, you go through an amphibious operations, landing checks, units land, new units approach. This was something I skipped a lot in my previous playthroughs. And then for the extended game sequence, you know, it starts here. Or it's in red, if you will. There's no more landing. And none of this happens in the extended game, is really what that's trying to say. Then we're going to do east and west. See these east and west landing checks? That's all part of this up here, right? So the landing checks here in A are here and here. We're going to draw cards. That's why there's a big empty space. Then you can see there's an event phase that happens. And when you're doing an extended game sequence, that event phase happens. That's why you see the red number. It's the second thing that happens in the extended game, but it's 1A for the basic game. Or step 2 in the basic game. So basic game step 1 does these two, and then this is step 2 for the basic game, and then for extended it's step 2. Then for 3 in the basic, you're going to do German fire checks, and then their actions begin. That's those letters we were talking about. We're going to do artillery fire, disruption removal checks, and you can see the extended game is telling you to definitely do this. And then here, there's going to be fires for the German fire phase. Then there's an event card here that is not used until the extended game. So this is only done in the extended game. There's an engineer and HQ phase. In the basic game, you're going to be clearing beaches and obstacles. In the extended phase, you're going to be doing engineer and HQ command posts. You're going to be using these little charts, or these little things down here. So the engineers will be doing something different during step 4. Then there's an action phase where we actually get to make our choices and do actions. And for the basic game, we're going to get 2 actions per division. Remember the East and West, right? There was the 1st Division and 29th. And then we get move, climb, attack, and barrage. We'll get into all that. And then in the extended game, there's 3 actions per division. And then there's additional card draws if we have to do any barrage. It's just a place to put your card. That's all it is. Then end of turn, we're going to discard and, basically reset for the next turn. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Now the Germans, well, let's not talk about the Germans yet. Let's keep talking about us. We're going to have units that are going to approach the beach. We're going to do beach landing checks, which is going to cause them to land on the beach. And then the Germans are going to be firing upon us. So this is a red nest here, where you see this. There's 2 red nests here. And they can shoot anywhere where you see these little red semicircles. And I don't want to get too in the woods, because when we start the playthrough, we're going to talk about how all that works. But basically, just understand that that's their range of shooting. So, for example, this red nest here can't shoot here. There's no red semicircle. Now, you might be wondering, why is this on this edge of the grid? Well, it's just showing you where the source of the shooting is from. So they're shooting from here, so it's just angled towards them. And then as you go over here, the angle goes the other way. So that's what that means. These pips are the best thing ever about this game. Mr. Butterfield, who designed this game, this is the most brilliant thing he ever did. And if you watch my Dday Omaha game, there's another designer who took that over. He removed these pips because he thought these were an eyesore and they weren't necessary. And I was very critical of him. I have to say, he's a really nice guy and his ideas were awesome. But because he removed these pips, the game was just not as successful. And we'll probably never see from him or hear from him again. But he did a great job with Iwo. It was just removing the pips was a very bad move. These pips are awesome. Okay, so getting into this, they land on the beach. These here are mines, but the mines are not active until the water is up to. So see this little blue dotted line? There's a tide. The tide is low when the game starts. But as the game progresses, the tide is eventually going to go up to mid here. And then these mines are going to explode if they're not cleared. So you need engineers to clear these mines. So that way your vehicles can land when the tide goes up. And so you have a certain number of turns until that happens. And right here, you can see on turn 7 is when it goes to mid-tide. So turns 1 through 6, they start at 6:15 a.m. and it goes all the way till 7:30. All those turns, we have engineers trying to clear those mines. But then once turn 7 starts, then those mines are going to start becoming active. And anything that's not cleared could be a potential issue. Now, when we're trying to land on the beach, we're landing here initially. But after turn 7, when we try to land on the beach, we're actually going to land here instead. So we're going to be closer to the Germans when we land, which could be beneficial, but it may not be as well. There's a lot going on. I don't want to get into all that. Oh, excuse me, at least not yet. So, and then you can see the tide eventually goes high, and then it's basically all the way up next to the Germans. And high tide doesn't happen until turn 16. And so I think once the high tide comes in, you can't even approach the beach anymore. So that's the part that's interesting about this, is because you would think, okay, why don't they just wait till the high tide and then invade then? Then they don't have to cross the beach anymore. Okay. So with those basic concepts out of the way, you're going to land on the beach. The Germans are going to be shooting at you. And you got to get across the beach. And then here you can see, this is called shingle, I believe. Here's all the shingle right here. So see, it looks like, basically small particles of sand. That's called the shingle. The shingle is higher up than you, but it's something that you can climb over. So, so the troops get a little bit of protection from it, but they can overcome the shingle and get up here. And then you can see here that there's, this scratchy orange, and then the solid black line. So let's go over here. So it's an anti-tank ditch. Basically, tanks can't go through that. Then the question is, well, can we go through that? And there's a chart here for that somewhere. Well, for whatever reason, I'm not finding the chart, but there is a chart that explains. Oh, here, right here. So you can see the anti-tank ditch is the same as a shingle hexide. So it's saying that infantry can move over it. Yes, leaders can, but everything else, no. Which is the armor, the anti-aircraft, stuff like that. So these types of obstacles, you can overcome those with your units as well. Now, however, if you're trying to attack from the other side of one, the Germans are strength doubled. So they have double strength against you, if that's what you're trying to do. And part of this is like, okay, well, if I'm here along the beach and I'm trying to take this German unit out so he stops shooting at us, right? You can attack them from here, but their strength is going to be doubled when you're resolving the attack. That may or may not be a bad thing. It just depends. It depends on what you have and what he has. The only other way to do it is you would have to climb the shingle to here, and then you would have to attack this one, and then eventually you could like circle around and get him from behind. That's a tall order, though, to move here, then there. All the time this thing is still shooting. And you can see this guy here is shooting at you here. Now, one thing I should get out of the way, and I will explain it again when we're playing the game, is there's three types of shooting. There's intense fire, which is a solid circle. The steady fire is the semicircle, and then the sporadic is an empty circle. And if you come back here, you can see solid, semi, sporadic. That's a sporadic there. Here's another one. So what does it represent? These guys have this part of the beach dialed in, and this is deadly, super deadly. They don't miss if you're here. This part, they can miss you. So you're a little, because you're far enough away that they're, they could miss you. And then when you're here, that means that they have a real low chance of hitting you. They can still do it, but it's not quite as good for those types of situations. And also the hit priority. So if they're determining who they hit, it's going to be the solid ones first. Another mistake I made in my videos. I do eventually correct it, but it's one that I wasn't proud of. So how do they hit you? Whatever. We'll get into some of that as we're playing, but just at a high level, understand this. If I have one token here, and this is a 2, so here's the other thing. These are called Wiener Stents or something like that. Vendor Stents. They're nests. They're German nests. They're gun nests. This is a single location one, and this is a double location one. So what that means is these two are connected together across, there's like multiple bunkers that are attached to each other, whereas this is a single bunker working by itself. Well, this could have one token on it or two, and they call that a depth marker if there's a second token underneath it. This could have one or two. This could also have one or two. So this guy could actually have 4 tokens on it at some point, if it's fully decked out. Well, the number of hits they do to you is the number of tokens. So the blue here can do at most 2 hits per round, whereas this one could do at most 4 hits per round. But if there's only 2 tokens here, one here and one there, then they'll do 2 per round. So the red is deadlier than the blue from that perspective. Obviously, if there's only 1 token here and there's no token here, then the red's going to be less deadly than a 2 token blue. Just understand that. But in general, this is a deadlier nest than that one. And you can see green's got a double nest here, where there's a single orange or yellow, and there's a single purple. Okay, so this edge of the beach is not as deadly per se, but trust me, they all, when they hit just as equally. And then you can see here there's 2 doubles. So this is a very strong centralized part of the beach. The 29th has a very tall order here. There's a couple singles and then another double and then a single. Okay? So if you understand those concepts, that'll get you far. Now, these G1s and some of these others that you see here, this is mostly used for the extended game, but there will be reinforcements that will start arriving even while we're playing the basic, and this is some of the logic that the AI uses on determining where they're going to go. So, at a high level, that's it. So, going back up to here, we land, they shoot at us, we resolve events. The events can be good or bad. They're a mixture of both. The Germans, we land, we resolve an event, the Germans shoot at us, we skip this initially, we do an engineer phase, and then we take actions. So those are the only two things I haven't described. So, when the Germans shoot at us, let's just draw a card. I draw one card for the east sector, which is this side. What this card's saying is that orange is firing, red is firing, and brown, which there is no brown. So purple, green, and blue did not fire. So if I'm on the beach and I have a green and blue on my beach, I take no damage. In fact, this is a great card, actually. I would be cheering right now. I'd be getting my units across the beach because, they're reloading or whatever. During that 15-minute period, they're not firing. So that's how the fire resolution works. And there's more to it than this, but I'm just trying to give you the high-level understanding of how the flow of the game works. And that's the key thing, by the way. When I tell you that these other videos stink, they don't explain just at a high level, how does this work? And then we could get into all the details. So basically, red and orange would have fired, and nobody else. So the engineer phase relies on this. So we know that the blue and green didn't fire, so the engineers can go to this hex and remove that mine. They can't remove a mine here because red fired. They can't remove a mine here because orange fired. So this is the only hex they can remove between here all the way to here. The engineers could also remove this one. So there would be two hexes they could remove this particular turn if this was the card that was used. And so the engineers have to be opportunistic, right? They can't remove mines while they're being fired upon. So they're going to remove the mines in the areas where the firing is not happening. Okay? So very simple, very elegant, but a lot of luck in this game. But I think one of the reasons I like this game is it's a heavy luck game with a good mitigation of actions. Or I don't know, I still feel like I'm making meaningful choices. Then the action phase. The action phase is you have two actions you can take. So if I have 16 units on the beach, I get to move 2 of them. And you might be thinking to yourself, what? That's a horrible game. And that's because it is. If that were true. It's all the infantry units have what's called a self-preservation rule, which is get off the beach. So they can move for free until they get up to one of these walls that protects them from being under attack. And once they get up to a wall that protects them, then they no longer get to move for free. So you're going to have like a big pile up of units up here, assuming they survive. And then you got to use actions to take them from there. The tanks and other units never get free actions on their own, and so you're going to have to use your 2 actions to help them. And then there's eventually going to be HQ, or heroes. Heroes will move for free. Rangers move for free. And then you're going to get some HQ units here. Those are going to move for free. And then there's some, they're represented by the generals. So I think that's what the HQ unit represents. So when the HQs land, all the units that are in their range get to move for free. So they're, just think of them as like, there's this virtual circle. So if their circle was, anything that's next to them gets to move for free in the basic game. And then here you could see the range. If it's up to 4, anything within 4 spaces of them gets a free action. So the HQ is very efficient at helping everybody around them to get the job done. So what you're going to find is a lot of units are going to get actions, even though you only have 2. Now, they can move, which is going to be the number 1 action we're going to do. From time to time, they're going to climb. Attack is an action we're not going to get to do until we get to the other end of the beach. And then barrage is something that the tanks can do. And this is so luck-based, it's not even funny. But man, oh man, if you can get luck on your side, this barrage is worth doing. It's just that the luck is tremendously... I mean, you're really just flipping a coin to see if it worked. Now, there's some solid red here, which if you look... That's not a mined road. See, this is the thing. It could get really tricky. The solid red is a sheer cliff hexside. Nobody can move on those. And so, basically, this is just too steep. And if you get into the rulebook, one mistake that I made, and I truly didn't catch it, is I thought, okay, if somebody gets here, I got to now spend actions to get them out of there. Because they can't move, further. They got to move down the beach and then eventually up. These are still self-preservation moves, so they get to move for free. They stop moving for free once they get to certain locations. Like, so, okay, now here you got this looks like a solid gray line. And it gets confusing, because look at this. This is like, that looks like a solid gray line, but it's a double line. And I would say it's this one, which is a scalable cliff hex. So you can do it, but you have to climb. So you have to use a climb action just to get over the cliff. And then once you get up the cliff, then you're in this zone. And that's why the fire is so sporadic here. Because even these guys are up on the cliff, they can't shoot down at you because you're up against the cliff wall. So you could pretty much climb the cliff safely, but then once you get up here, then they have a better shot at hitting you. So that's just something to understand. Then you got this, looks like railroad, right? There's a gray railroad, and there's red railroad. I don't even know what the railroad-looking thing is. It's the bluff hexside. That's this. So you can climb. Leaders can do it. And attack is prohibited, though, across it. So they're very similar to this, except leaders can't go up the scalable cliff. But a leader can go across that. And in both cases, attack's prohibited. So this is another... So once you get up to here, you still can't attack him, is what it's saying. So you have to do another climb to get to here, and then finally you can attack him. Okay? And then there's like a similar cliff edge over here. There's similar unscalable here. And then here you got some climbing you can do all along here. And then this again is the anti-tank wall. And then you got a whole bunch of shingle, which is what most of this is. Alright? And then this solid black is not, this is just dividing the 29th versus the 1st. So the command area for the 29th is to the right of this, and then for the 1st is the left. You could theoretically play this with 2 players. And so the command this is just dividing up the board. Now, one last thing I didn't cover is how do you lose the game? Well, if you ever have 8 losses in this box, basically 8 units that get down to the final step, it's considered a loss even if this is still on the board. The fact that you're down to your last step, that's still considered a catastrophic loss. So whatever unit was before this, if it ends up in here, and there's 8 of them, in turn 1 through 16, you'll lose the game. And then the same rule for the 1st, if there's 8 over here. And you could lose 7 and 7 on each side, that's fine. You just can't ever lose 8 on one side. It's not hard to lose 8. Let's just put it that way. And sometimes the game just doesn't, cooperate. And, it's hallmark of a good solo game. If you could just win it every time, then what fun is that, right? Okay, so we went through quite a lot. Hopefully you got a good feel for how to navigate the game. And then the last thing we need to do is we have to set up the game. So if you're not interested in setup, you can just quit and move to the next video. But basically, set up for this or your home physical copy, it's the same. You follow these steps here. And then what you're going to do is you're also going to have some artillery that's going to go here and here. So German has artillery units that are up here. And then these spots, these here with the spots are they're spotters, meaning that they are doing observation to help them to know where to aim. They represent off-map artillery. Okay, so what do we do here? Well, the first thing first is we have one rocket Wiener division. That's what I always call it. There's one rocket one and no other one. And that guy goes in a very specific place. I know they say where. Oh, here's the artillery ones. WN69 right here. Place the rocket unit on WN69. It's going to be over here on the right side. So Wiener 69. Why am I not seeing it? I see 70. I see 68. Oh, it's because it's back here. So boom, there he is. All right, so he gets a rocket. The one you want to start with, though, is not these guys in the front. You want to start with the depth marker. So right here, you got 8 German building depth markers. And then here you can see it says German building depth markers 8. So what you want to do... I screw this up sometimes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then that 8th one but underneath. There is a shuffle, which is an R, which you should do. Like, you should be shuffling these before you draw them up. And that was a mistake I made with these 8. So I'm just hitting R on each one of these because they need to shuffle. Alright, so these need to be shuffled, and I don't think there's a way you could shuffle them now. So we're just going to... I shouldn't be seeing the values. So let me flip those over. I'm never going to remember this. Alright, so we're going to take all 8 of them. Put them here. Alright, and then we got the mobile depth. This is the one. See how it says there's 24 of them, but only 20 of them go here? That's because 4 of them go up there. So we're going to shuffle one last time. And we're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 go there. And then the other 20... I'm just going to put here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's sort of like even when you have them all messed up like this, it does, you know, try to straighten them out. So if I pick these up and drop them again, see, it organizes them really nice. But because of the physics in this game, sometimes you don't want it to stack up so high. Alright, enough playing with that. So just remember that 4 of them go here, the other 20 go there. And then this one here are the 18 depth markers. Now these ones, you can see that 9 of them go here. So I'm going to shuffle, and we're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. They go there. The other 9 are going to go on the game board. And I highly recommend that you do these first. And you'll see why in a second. I'm going to sort these. Ah, you jerk. And what I mean by that is when I drop them, it makes a nice little pile. Alright, so where do the other 9 go? Well, it says place an unrevealed depth marker in the following spots. So you can see 60, 61, 62. So 60. I'm going to put 61 to the right and 62. And by the way, it says 62 north, I'm betting, because everything's on the north. Yeah, 62 north. Then 65, 66, 68. And notice they're all north. So 65, 66, and 68. And then the remainder was 70, 72, and 73. Again, all north. Alright. And you'll notice when there's a dot, I'm placing it over to the right. 70, 72, and then 73. And I did that on purpose. And you'll see why in a second. Because the dots use the artillery ones. So there's 2 88s and there's 2 75s. Or 6 75s. So you can go ahead and draw all 6 of these. And all you have to do is find where the dots are. And they get one. So this gets a dot, that gets a dot. Just like Oprah. You get a dot, you get a dot. And see, this one here has a depth marker that would have covered up the dot. That's the reason why I set it over to the right. Because I need to be able to see the dot to know where these go. So there's a dot here as well. And that is not just one unit. So there's one more left. And I think there's one back here, if I remember correctly. Nope, this one. Which one did I miss? Ah, right there. I covered up the dot. I did the very thing I told you not to do. Alright, so that one's done. The 88s are also really simple. First of all, there's only 2 of them. And then they have this giant 88 written on them. So you take care of those first. It covers up most of them. And now you come back over here. And that's empty, that's empty, that's empty. You have 9 Wiener Schnitzels. Remaining. And because I don't trust the shuffle, I'm just gonna put these in, try to be as random as I can. So there's one there, there's one back here, there's one there, there should be one over here. See, everywhere you see a depth marker needs one, because depth markers are never on top. Or they're not supposed to be, at least at the start of the game. So everywhere you see a depth marker gets one. And boom, there it is. Oh, we got 2 more. What's going on? Ah, this was supposed to be here. I have a screw up somewhere. I'm missing one. What's going on? What on earth did I do? Yeah, that definitely gets one. There should be one here. Oh, do you remember when we started this game, they said that there was a unit that fell through the floor? Holy crap. Well, I will have to fix that before we start the next video. And basically I gotta reload a new game. there was an error that occurred in the right here, destroying this because it fell through the world. So a piece of the game fell through, and I'm wondering if that's what it was. That or I just made a royal screw up here. And I put one right over top of another. I am not beneath doing something silly like that. Oh, you know what? I don't think there's two of them here. Yeah, that doesn't even exist. Ah, there's a mistake right there. Bam. Bam. This goes there. So I kerfuffled myself because that was an 88. I didn't want to cover it up, so I put the depth marker to the right of it. So then when I put the 88 over top, I didn't do this. Sorry, folks. I ended up taking a phone call. So I've been gone for quite a while, actually. But if I remember correctly, we were just looking for that final piece and we found it. And I know that your physical copy is not going to look exactly like this because you have to sort all these pieces. But these pieces are pretty easy. So you got the WN units. You have the artillery WNs with the 75 on them, the 88, and then there's one rocket. Building depth are easy because building and mobile say that right on the top. The WN depth says it right on the top. So these are real easy to sort. The only thing that's tricky are these ones. So you got the tactical reinforcements, the division reinforcements, and the Meyer units, and you can see they all look exactly the same. So if you pull one out and look at it, the Meyer units have an M on them. And that's how you know which one's which. And I probably shouldn't have put it in, but I wanted to make sure I shuffled it first. So if we take all the Meyer units out, and those are going to go here, of course, under Camp Group Meyer. The tactical reinforcement ones, there's 9 of them. They go over tactical reinforcements, like so. And just to show you real quick, it says a T on it for tactical reinforcements. And there's no way I'm going to remember what that said. I don't even remember the rules to most games I play. So, joke intended, joke intended. And then, like, the division reinforcements has a D on it. So they're difficult to sort just because the back looks the same. But one is a D, the other's a T, the other's an M. So they're pretty easy to, if you look at the face of them. It's just that once you sort them out, then you have to shuffle them. And of course these division reinforcements, there's 11 of them and they go right there. And I'm just going to move a few over. Like so. Alright. So, and then we have the possibility to add armor. And the armor is an optional thing in the game. I don't remember playing with the armor. I think I ignored this last time. But we're going to add it, and then once we get to the extended version, none of this, the armor doesn't come out until the extended version of the game. So when we start to go over the extended version rules, we'll worry about that. All right. So there you go. That's all you need to do to set up. The sorting these, and this takes some significant time. So one of the reasons I love the tabletop version, of course, is I was able to get through, like, all this was done for me, all the sorting and whatnot. And by the way, these are the generals. I was looking for the general markers. They actually come in. They give free actions to people as well. So we'll get more in depth into looking up the charts and all that stuff during the playthrough. But there you go. That's setting up the game. Technically, you got one more piece of setup you need to do, And that's this. These tanks are on the board at the start. So that's an ER5, FG5, ER3, and FG2. So those are getting ready to land. Everything else stays off. We got DG2, DW1, DG3, and DW3. Okay, so there you have it. Thanks for watching. Stay awesome.